Now we're going to finish up today our study. We've just sort of been looking at Adam, the original man, some of the mistakes he made. And I want to at least end on a positive note concerning Adam. He's responsible for a lot of bad things. But one of the things, and I'm really not going to get into Cain and Abel, but one of the things that I see in Genesis chapter 4, we got the whole story of Cain and Abel bringing sacrifices and having an altar and bringing those sacrifices to that altar. That tells me something. Adam passed down what he knew. He told his stories. And really, if you look at the whole story of Cain and Abel, that even Cain knew the things that had happened to his dad. My father-in-law and mother-in-law, they both passed away, but they came and lived with us for a period of time. And I know that one of the things that we tried to do was we did some things to try to record, get my wife's family stories and just hear their stories. And I want to challenge you men. You should tell your stories. You should tell your successes, and you should tell your failures to your family. They should know your stories. They should know the stories of your walk with God, how God met you, how you got saved, what happened in your life. They should know your stories, and that's one of the things that we should pass on to our family is a legacy of the stories that should the Lord tarry, your great-grandchildren should be able to go back and tell the story of their great-grandfather and how that great-grandfather met Jesus. Maybe how that great-grandfather got filled with the Holy Spirit, or how that great-grandfather got healed, and maybe some of your stories and some of your experiences with God, and maybe even some of your mistakes and some of your failures, and maybe how God helped you through those things. You should pass on your stories to your children. And that's one of the things I see about Adam, that Adam did good. He passed on his stories. He passed on his legacy. He passed on at least some good things, taught his kids, taught his children how to worship God, how to bring an offering to God. And he told his stories. So men, don't die with your stories on the inside of you. Don't let your children grow up and not know a thing about what happened in your life. Even if my kids get so tired of hearing my stories, sometimes I'll start them and they'll give, that teenage eye. They'll, oh, God, there goes Dad again. Well, I'm going to tell you something. They know my stories. And you know what? Someday they'll pass it down to their children and their grandchildren, should the Lord tarry. Tell your stories because they'll affect generations to come.